y'all, welcome to this new video, to my reading wrap-up for April. So I read a total of 9 books this month, which honestly was either surprising or not super surprising because we had a break, but it feels like a lot. It feels like more than I normally do, but that does include audiobooks and books that I do not physically own, so maybe that's why. So I only own 5 of the books that I read. You see those 5. I'm not going to show them to you. I'm going to show the titles individually. So the first book that I read, or that I finished in the month of April, was an audiobook. It was Cress, which is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles, which is by Marissa Meyer. This was a reread for me. There were a couple of rereads for April, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. I'm not going to explain like why or anything because it would spoil it would spoil the first 2 books in the series, because this is the 3rd book. And then I also finished the 4th book, Winter, which I gave 4 stars. Like, it was cute and I did enjoy it, but it did drag a bit. I don't know exactly how long it was, but the audiobook was like 20 hours. And I think the physical book was like 800 pages. I don't own the physical book, which is why I don't have it here. But yeah, that was Cress and Winter. And then I reread this series, or not the series, I reread the first book in the series, which is The Infernal Devices, Clockwork Angel. The name of the series is The Infernal Devices, and the book is Clockwork Angel. And this is one of my all-time favorite books. So I gave this time reading it 5 stars, which I love. And I'm looking down because I have a little reference paper here. So for content stuff, there are a couple cusses, like 2 to 3 that I found. I think like the B word is used twice. And then it does get a little dark. It gets dark because, so if you are not familiar with Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter world, it's about a group of people who hunt demons. Like, it's a, not group, it's a race. And this one takes place in the 1870s in London. And it follows this girl who finds out that she is a shapeshifter warlock. I say shapeshifter warlock instead of just a regular warlock because she's the only one who could shapeshift. And there were a bunch of amazing quotes that I found, like, this time reading. Or, like, not this time because I obviously had read it before, but this was my first time reading it physically. I love the main character and her love for books. I don't know if you can see, but all of the green tabs are for times where she's referenced, or one of the other characters has referenced a book. And like pink is for romance and all of that. There is a lot of romance in here, which I love. One of my favorite quotes about books is in here. Let me find it. I'm on the correct chapter, I know that. Oh, so this major character that I love, Will Herondale, is taking Tessa to see the library, and she says, "One must always be careful of books," said Tessa, "and what is inside them, for words have the power to change us." Which is so very true. And then later on, like a couple lines down, she says, "Only the very weak-minded refuse to be influenced by literature and poetry." Which I can agree with. I know some people who, yeah, we're not gonna talk about those people. And then there's another quote that I love that I would like to mention, or like it's a conversation about books. So Will Herondale, he loves to read, and at the beginning he says he hates Tessa's favorite book, which is A Tale of Two Cities. This is in a conversation in a carriage in the middle of the book, but I don't think it has any spoilers. "Sometimes when I have to do something I don't want to do, I pretend I'm a character from a book. It's easier to know what they would do." "Really? Who do you pretend you are? D'Artagnan?" Tessa asked, naming the only one of the 3 musketeers that she could remember. "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done," Will quoted. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. Sydney Carton? But you said you hated A Tale of Two Cities. I don't really. And Sydney Carton was a dissipated alcoholic. Exactly. There was a man who was worthless and knew he was worthless, and yet however far down he tries to sink his soul, there were always some part of him capable of great action. Will lowered his voice. What is it he says to Lucy Manette? That though he is weak, he can still burn? Tessa, who had read A Tale of Two Cities more times than she could count, whispered, and yet I have the weakness, and have still the weakness, to wish you to know that with what a sudden mastery you kindled me, heap of ashes that I am, into fire. She hesitated. But that was because he loved her. Yes, said Will. He loved her enough to know that she was better off without him. I loved their entire conversation right here, and we need to move on, but there was another quote that I pulled, this time by his best friend, Jem. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's towards the end. Yes, sometimes, Jem said, our lives can change so fast that the change outpaces our minds and hearts. It is those times, I think, when our lives have altered, but we still long for the time before everything was altered. That is when we feel the greatest pain. I can tell you, though, from experience, you now grow accustomed to it. You learn to live your life, and you can't imagine or even really remember how things were before. So yeah, that is Clockwork Angel. Go read it right now. If you haven't read it, what are you doing? So the next book I read, I actually DNF'd, but that's because I wasn't in the mood for it when I was reading it. And that is Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. It is a really good book, and from what I've read, I have enjoyed it so far, but as I mentioned, I just wasn't in the mood. I think I gave it 4 stars or whatever, which is very weird for DNF. I'm going to continue this eventually. So it's like what people would call a soft DNF, where it's like, it's not for me at the moment, but we'll still read later, or try again later. The next book that I finished was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So if you have not seen the movie or read the book, it's about 4 sisters just like navigating life. It's a coming-of-age classic novel. I love the movie, and I gave the book 4 stars. The movie is one of my favorites, but honestly, so this was really cute, but when I went into it, I believe I went into it expecting the book to be exactly like the movie, which obviously it isn't, because the book is the movie is the adaptation, not the actual story. So I gave this book only 4 stars because it was slightly disappointing, but I did still enjoy it. And then the next book that I read was The Heroes of Olympus. I read up to Mark of Athena, so that's 3 books, but we're only going to talk about the first one. So I gave this one 4 stars, which means I did enjoy it, but I didn't love it. And then I also gave Son of Neptune 4 stars. I'm not going to include the 3rd book in this video because I finished it May 1st, not the last day of April. I wrote the reasons why I didn't like it that much down right here, or like I didn't love it. So my thoughts, I need book 2, which I did. I don't own it yet. I borrowed it from a friend. I borrowed book 2 and 3 from a friend. I have book 4 now. I was too impatient to wait. And I also needed Percy in this. I did like Jason, but not that much. So what's happening here is Percy Jackson has gone missing, and so we follow 3 new characters, Jason, Piper, and Leo. I love Leo. Piper was okay. She was a bit of a pick-me, but yeah, she was a pick-me, but I didn't find her as annoying as most pick-me's that I have read about. So I did find Jason somewhat annoying. So I found him like a bit whiny and like selfish. And so I was just like, yeah, no, he's not the best for me. Like the best character, as I mentioned, he's a bit selfish and he only cares about about his close friends, not like actual other people. And like he only cares about himself, and he's always thinking about his own problems and not other people's problems, in my opinion. So I also felt like he was trying to be Percy without being Percy. It felt like Rick Riordan was trying to make a Percy copy. but without all of the things that makes Percy special, if that makes any sense. And so I loved the romance between Jason and Piper. I don't love them as a couple because, like, I don't love them. I don't have a specific reason why. I love Leo. I could relate to a lot of the things that he was going through, like with his mental health stuff. They're very similar things to what I was going through when I was, well, at first I assumed he was 13, so when I was 13. And I did enjoy the dialogue. It was entertaining. And also I was very frustrated with the gods because they never learned their lesson, because literally the entire thing of like what's going on with this is they're trying to stop one of the she's not really a monster, she's, I don't know what you would call her, the personification of Mother Earth, or Earth or whatever, from waking up and taking over the world. And the gods are not willing to work with the demigods, which they kind of need. And I also read The Hobbit. It was okay. Don't have any other stuff. For The Hobbit, I gave it 3 stars because, like, I had watched the movie and I did enjoy it. I don't know if it was really for me exactly. I wouldn't say it was I wouldn't say it's really boring, but it was not as entertaining as I expected. Though I did mostly listen to the audiobook. I barely read the physical book. And I feel like that did help me enjoy it, at least because the audiobook, at least on YouTube, it dramatized, so they have different voice actors and sound effects and all of that other stuff. And so I did enjoy that aspect, and that did help me stay interested in the book. So yeah, let me see if I missed anything. I don't think I did. Yeah, no. And also I just couldn't get into it, though it was really good and I enjoyed it. So thank y'all for tuning in to this video, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any book recommendations, then let me know. Also be sure to follow my Instagram and check out my Goodreads. We have a Goodreads group where I send out different polls, and we do book of the month stuff and other things like that, so be sure to check that out, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.